Welcome to our units on percents, fractions, and decimals. Today we're going to be talking specifically about percents and how we compare those with fractions and decimals. So just a review that we're going to need for this unit is we need to be able to convert fractions to decimals and vice versa. So remember, when we're converting fractions to decimals, you divide the numerator by the denominator. So our first example, 3/5, just means 3 divided by 5, or 6/10, 0.6. Our second example, 7/8, means 7 divided by 8, or 0.875, 875 thousandths. We learned this in the first unit this year. Now, reversing, going from decimals to fractions, you read the number to identify the smallest place value and then place the decimal over the smallest place value. For example, 23 hundredths, as it's read, means 23 over 100. 8/10 means 8 over 10, which we can simplify to 4/5. This is stuff that we've talked about before, but if you have any questions, make sure you ask a partner or the teacher. So now let's actually talk about percents. Percents mean per hundred, or it's a ratio of a number compared to 100. So there are a couple examples here you can see. 20% means 20 parts per 100. So if Jeremiah has 100 candy bars and Jason takes 20% of them, he's taking 20 of the bars, 20 of the 100. Another example, if you're talking about 35% or 35 parts per 100, if Sarah has 100 pennies and she gives 35% of her pennies to Rachel, Sarah gives 35 pennies to Rachel. If we were dealing with 100%, 100 parts per 100, here's an example. If George has 100 free songs and he gives 100 of his free songs to Kathy, he gives all his songs to Kathy. 100% means a complete whole, or everything that you have. So we compare percents to 100, but is it possible to have more than 100%? Well, if you've ever listened to people talk, yes, it is possible when you're giving more or taking more than what was originally there. So, for example, Ken owes Elizabeth $100 and he pays her back 110% of what he owes her. He'd be paying her $110. This is how interest works. If people are charged interest, you pay more than what you were originally owed. And so you can have more than 100%, more than 100 parts per 100, which is hard to envision unless you look at it in a numerical, in a money type of sense with currency. Okay. So that's just the basics of percents. Let's talk about how we convert to a percent. It's really simple. With a decimal, because it's parts per 100, we're just going to multiply that decimal by 100. So 23 hundredths multiplied by 100 is 23, or 23%. It's 23 out of 100, or 23%. 5 hundredths means 5 out of 100. So when we multiply 0.5 by 100, or 5 hundredths by 100, we get 5, or 5%. For fractions, we convert to a decimal and then multiply by 100, or the second option is to set up a proportion. So the first one, let's look. 3/8. Converted to a decimal means 3 divided by 8, or 0.375, 375 thousandths. And then multiply that by 100, we get 37.5%, or 37 5/10%. That's one way. Or we can set up a proportion. 3/8, or 3 to 8, is the same as how many out of 100. This is what we did last unit. So 3 to 8 is how many out of 100. Remember, we use our cross product. So 8 times x equals 3 times 100, or 300. Divide both sides by 8, x is 37.5, or 37.5%. Either is a good option. Let's look at the second example. We can use the decimal form. 3 divided by 4 is 0.75, or 75 times 100, which is 75%. Or we can use a proportion. 3 to 4 is equal to how much out of 100? 3 times 100 is 300. 4 times x is 4x. Divide both sides by 4. X is 75, or 75%. I apologize if the screen is a little cut off at the bottom. Now, take a moment and pause this video and you try these next couple examples. Convert each decimal or fraction to a percent. Welcome back. Hopefully you were successful. Here's our answers. 13 hundredths means 13%. 2 sevenths is 28.57% rounded. Example 3, 1.62 is 162% greater than 100, and we talked that is possible. And 3 thousandths is 0.3%. If you have any questions, check with your neighbor, or you can ask me tomorrow in class. Now, we have to be able to go the other way, converting from a percent to a fraction and a decimal. And again, it's really basic. So if we're going to go from a percent to a decimal, well, when we went from a decimal to percent, we multiplied by 100. And we want to undo multiplying, so we're going to divide by 100. So 25% just means 25 divided by 100, 0.25 or 25 hundredths. 74.5% or 74.5 parts per 100 divided by 100 means 0.745% or 745 thousandths. Now from a percent to a fraction, just put the percent over 100 and simplify. The only catch is if the fraction has a decimal in the numerator. Then we're going to have to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by 10 till the decimal has been removed. And I'll show you that example in the second one. But let's look at this first. Put the percent over 100 and simplify. So 8% just means 8 over 100 and simplify, 2/25. The only time it can get a little confusing is if I have a decimal as a percent. We're still going to do the same thing, 51.6 over 100. But we don't like decimals in our fractions. It's bad enough to deal with one or the other. We don't want to deal with both. So if we multiply the whole thing by 10, the numerator and the denominator, we get 516 over 1,000, which then looks much better and we can simplify, 129 over 250. So percents to decimals divide by 100, decimal to percent multiply by 100. Percent to fraction, put it over 100 and simplify. Fraction to a percent is just that number over 100, or you can use a proportion. You can convert it to a decimal or use a proportion. Your turn. Pause again and try these in your group. Convert each percent to a decimal and a fraction. Welcome back. Hopefully you were successful with these. So here's our answers. Example 1 is 15 over 100 or 3/20 and 0.15 or 15 hundredths. Example 2 is 73 over 100 and 73 hundredths as a decimal. Example 3 is 150 over 100, which if you made it into a mixed number is 1 and 50 hundredths or 1 and 1/2. And the decimal is 1.5 or 1 and 5/10. And the last one is 6/10 over 100, and we don't like it left as a decimal, so we multiplied both by 10. We get 6 over 1,000 or 3/500, and 6 thousandths or 0.006. You guys are going to work in groups to do some more conversions, but please ask your classmates for questions or ask me tomorrow in class, or Monday in class, sorry. Thank you and have a wonderful day.